Imagine walking into your office, coffee in hand, only to discover that your biggest advocate, your mentor, and the one manager who truly understood your value has just lost their job in a corporate reorg and left. Instantly, the halo of protection they provided vanishes. If your corporate survival relies on a manager who is no longer there, you are completely stranded, exposed to a sudden and very real threat to your job security. If you are furiously searching the phrase, "Boss quit, what do I do?" or if you are trying to figure out the strategic secret to surviving corporate reorg, you are exactly where you need to be. I'm Kaushik, a former head of HR for global Fortune 500 companies. Not only have I watched this exact scenario play out thousands of times, but have also experienced it myself on multiple occasions. In this video, I am going to break down the invisible dynamics of a leadership change, looking at a professional named Megan, to understand why doing excellent work is no longer enough to save your job, and exactly what you must do to rebuild your political armor from scratch. When the reorg hits, and the old boss is gone, whether they were transferred, laid off, or simply moved on to another company, they can no longer offer you any cover. Megan sits at her desk, expecting the new leadership to judge her fairly on her past merits and project successes. But she is entirely missing the broader, unspoken team dynamics occurring around her. When a new manager arrives, they do not see Megan as a high-performing legacy employee. Biologically and psychologically, human beings form tight tribes, and to this new manager and their imported team, Megan is immediately categorized as an Outgroup threat. You have to look at this from the new boss's point of view. They are stepping into a high-pressure situation where they are expected to deliver immediate results. They are naturally going to feel most comfortable working with their own trusted people, individuals whose loyalties they know and whose work rhythms they understand. Working with an employee from a previous regime feels like a risk. The new boss might unconsciously, or even consciously, prefer to push Megan out to make room for an ally they can completely trust. When Megan sits quietly, waiting for direction, and clinging to the work style of her old boss, she isolates herself. The new team reads her anxiety in silence, not as shock, but as resistance or incompetence. To save herself, Megan must pivot immediately. If you can anticipate a reorg, you start these moves early. But if it happens overnight, your reaction must be swift and calculated. The absolute first move Megan must make is a proactive value offering, often called a reciprocity audit. Instead of waiting nervously for the new boss to evaluate her, Megan needs to identify one immediate, painful problem the new manager is facing and solve it before being asked. Perhaps the new boss is scrambling to understand a legacy client account or is missing historical revenue data. Megan synthesizes a crisp one-page summary and hands it over without asking for a single favor in return. By proactively solving a headache, she forces a psychological shift, transforming herself from a legacy liability into a highly useful asset. Next, Megan needs to rapidly adapt to the new regime's culture to hack their in-group bias. She must observe how the new boss and team communicate. If her old boss loved long, detailed, analytical emails, but the new team communicates in rapid-fire, 3-bullet-point instant messages, Megan must immediately adopt the bullet point style. By mirroring their pacing and formatting, she stops triggering their outsider alarms and begins to neurologically align with their trusted group. She isn't changing her core personality. She is demonstrating the behavioral flexibility required to survive. But winning over the direct boss is only the beginning. Megan's fatal mistake was relying on a single point of failure in her old manager. Now, she must build the Triad of sponsors. Corporate power is not a single ladder. It is a grid. She needs active support from her new manager looking up, a peer looking across in a different department, and a director looking diagonally in a completely different vertical. If one pillar falls, the geometric structure of her career holds firm. To secure that diagonal sponsor, Megan does not beg for mentorship or protection. Instead, she uses a micro-ask. She catches a senior leader in a casual setting and asks for a tiny 10-second piece of advice regarding a minor strategic choice. This small investment of their time plants a seed. Once a leader helps you once, their brain naturally justifies helping you again, slowly building an organic, powerful alliance. Finally, Megan leverages the power of cross-pollinated social proof. Rather than bragging about her own wins to her skeptical new boss, she provides tremendous value to her lateral sponsor, say, helping a peer in the marketing department hit a tight deadline. Later, in a cross-departmental meeting, that marketing peer casually praises Megan's exceptional insight right in front of the new boss. Third-party validation carries infinitely more weight than self-promotion, doing the heavy lifting to cement her new reputation. Corporate loyalty shifts the moment the market norms change, and you cannot buy tomorrow's safety with yesterday's performance. By anticipating the motives of the new regime, proactively solving their pain points, and building a multi-directional web of sponsors, you don't just survive a reorg, you engineer your own advancement. If this breakdown changed the way you view your workplace, hit the like button and subscribe for more high-impact career strategies. For deeper dives into safeguarding your career and mastering workplace dynamics, visit careerresumecoach.com and check out my books, The Burnout Fix and The Generational Bridge, linked in the description below. Keep adapting, keep growing, and I will see you in the next video.